That's too many numbers. Do ailing elected officials need to keep their constituents aware of their own health issues?
We'll discuss that and more today on The Undercurrent.
And no more numbers.
We keep that kind of thing up. We're going to start calling us a numbers station.
I know, right?
And that we're into, espionage and spies and all that.
19. Yeah, I know, right? Or we could be helping people learn how to count, at least from 30 to 0. I don't know. I got nothing. I got nothing. Good morning to everybody. Here we got CBC voter in the house and Chuck's Intergalactic UFO show. That's right, Chuck. We just passed 100 subs. Woo, 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 woo. Thank you so much for subscribing to The Undercurrent on YouTube. We appreciate you. We're going to keep going with more subscribers, hopefully, as we evolve with this show.
We do really appreciate it, folks.
Yeah, it's not. And some people are like, oh, well, don't you wish you had like thousands of subscribers? I'm like, well, yeah, but I don't. It organic growth to me, I think, is probably the best, especially when you're trying to do the work that we're trying to do, pass along these stories and tell you about what's going on and things that can help you in your lives too, you know.
Absolutely. And we want to thank you, everybody who tuning in wherever you are, whether it's on the Rumbly Tumblies, on Facebook, on our channel, on Extra Bulla, on Chicago Corner. We very much appreciate everybody tuning in. If you could subscribe to the channel, if you're not already subscribed to our YouTube channel, if you could do that, that would be a big help to us as we grow this channel. But we appreciate all of you for showing up and being part of this community.
Definitely. If you want to subscribe, if you're watching on one of the other channels, you can look in the description down below. The link tree's there, but also the YouTube channel for The Undercurrent is down there too. Yeah. So we got all the information for you. We got you covered like a big sunny hat on a hot day.
Speaking of which, Uncle Warren, how is it up there?
I don't think they have numbers that high. Was it it's 89 right now and it's only 11 o'clock. So I was telling you earlier, I went on a walk yesterday. I went out at 9:30 yesterday. I got back about 10:30 and I was already just like soaked. So usually around 2-3 o'clock, that's when it really. I remember down south, around 2 or 3 o'clock they called it the heat of the day, but that's when a lot of times you would have like an afternoon thunderstorm, right? Right. You know, because all that hot air, some cool air managed to bump its way in there, and then you'd have like thunder and lightning and a little rain, and then the rain would stop. You know, no, because once the rain stopped, it just became the steam and the sauna, and it was just, you know, because the ground's already, everything was, and this was like dirt, right? In the cities, like you go to like Chicago, New York, a lot of places with a lot of concrete that, yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, it gets so hot and humid down here. Watching the grass grow is like incredible. I mean, I've got this huge lot that I live on, and the landlords are sending out a professional crew to handle it, but it just gets wild and woolly almost immediately after it's cut. I mean, just, you would not believe it. And then they got the insects down here, and they like tall grass, so that turns into a real problem before the landscapers come out to deal with it again. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. You have ticks that you have to worry about. More so now than ever.
Yeah, they make you a vegetarian these days.
Yeah. Those I think it's the Lone Star ticks.
Yeah.
That they'll give you a meat allergy. But I've heard though that sometimes it's not permanent. Sometimes I think you can get some treatment and eventually you get over that, and some people don't.
Your meat back.
You get your meat back. Exactly. But yeah, it's, you know, and then you got your mosquitoes and flies and stuff like that love to eat you up too. So take the precautions that you can. If you can do natural prevention, that's great. But, do you, boo, as we say, or as I say, somebody said it. I don't know. I heard it somewhere. We're going to get things started with the Riptide here. And, you heard about Lindsey Graham passing away over the weekend.
That's all I heard about over the weekend.
I had a tear come out, and then my tear found out it was Lindsey Graham, and then it went right back into my eye. The craziest thing I never seen. It's like it defied gravity. Sorry. Let's get to it. This is kind of a update. He's still dead, but former rival of recently deceased Lindsey Graham launches Senate bid. It'll tell you here in the article, but his sister has taken over for him in the Senate. The South Carolina governor appointed her until the next election, whenever that's going to be. So Mark Lynch, who challenged Lindsey Graham in South Carolina's recent Republican U.S. Senate primary, hopes to take the seat that the late GOP politician left empty. He has told America Now on RT. Lynch portrayed himself as a conservative outsider, capable of breaking the state's decades-long pattern of choosing career politicians. Graham, a longtime Russia hawk, died on Saturday at the age of 71 following what his office officially called a brief and sudden illness. The senator's death came a day after his return from Kiev, where he met Ukraine's Vladimir Zelensky. Graham repeatedly called for increased economic pressure on Moscow, threatening Russia with what he described as bone-crushing sanctions. In recent months, he actively promoted a bill that would impose 500% tariffs on countries purchasing Russian oil. The senator also described the U.S. military aid to Ukraine as the best money we've ever spent because the Russians are dying. What a cheerful person that guy was. Trumpy reacted to the death of his ally, saying he will be greatly missed and that the senator's death was most likely caused by underlying health problems. Apparently, his father died the same way, around the same age. Yeah. South Carolina Governor Henry McMaster appointed Graham's sister, Darlene Graham Nordone, as interim senator on Monday following a recommendation from Trump. Lynch described the choice as unusual, but said he would accept it and hoped the appointment would go well. In an interview with America Now on Monday, Lynch said he initially rejected calls to discuss another campaign while Graham's family was still grieving. Nobody saw that coming, he said, describing the senator's death as tragic and offering prayers to his relatives. Lynch said repeated appeals from supporters, however, eventually convinced him to enter the special Republican primary. After careful prayer and consideration and talks with his campaign team, he said, "We have committed to stay in this fight and give our constituents what they've asked for." Lynch finished behind Graham in the June 9th Republican primary. The incumbent secured the nomination with roughly 59% of the vote, while Lynch placed second in the multi-candidate contest. Candidate filing will run from July 21st through July 28th. The Republican primary is scheduled for August 11th with a runoff on August 25th if required. Lynch said his campaign would emphasize his business experience, faith, and constitutional conservatism. People are tired of career politicians, he added, and said, "Screw it, I want to be one too." So there's some movement there. I know there was going to be some sort of jockeying and position to take over that seat, but his sister is in there, and basically it seems like she's just going to be a rubber stamp for whatever Lindsey was going to do anyway. So it's not really much of a difference right now, I guess.
The move to put her in that seat, by the way, is not unusual. There is this thing called the widow's privilege, and it's a historic practice where whoever is making the appointment will put the wife of whoever the official is in the office. Sometimes also if a guy took a cabinet position or something like that and he needed somebody to finish out the term, some went on to have successful careers afterwards, Mary Bono being one of them, the wife of Sonny Bono. So this is not all unusual. Lindsey Graham did not have a wife. But he did have a sister, and I seem to recall, I think he may have even adopted her at one point to make sure she would get his military benefits because their parents had died. So, okay, well, I guess there's going to be jockeying for position there. Yeah.
I heard somebody, I was in the chat for Abby Dew's show yesterday, and they were talking about it, and they said, well, yeah, that's the privilege of the governor to be able to appoint someone. It is temporary. It's not like they're in there permanently. They have to run for election if they want to stay in there. The situation is different in Kentucky.
Yes,
with
like we talked about last week.
With Mitch McConnell, where the state legislature basically took that power away from the governor. It happened to be a Democratic governor. I'm sure that had nothing to do with it. Yeah. But in most states, that's usually what happens. And it's Sonny Bono's wife. It's happened before. I wasn't really shocked by that at all, that they chose his sister, because she was basically the only person in his family that could probably fill that role.
Yeah. So I wasn't at all surprised to hear this. It's just not that unusual. I want to say, is it 38 or 48 times it's happened? One of the two. It's a very common practice. So it has historically been a common practice.
Right. And I guess I can understand it if you're just going to be the rubber stamp for whoever was in there. You're basically carrying on, good or bad, whatever they were trying to achieve in office. So, we were talking about the heat. We got another heat dome this week in the United States. Just to recap what a heat dome is, it's just a large area of heat that's trapped at the surface level. Normally when you see storms, that means it's usually the heat's punching through and you get like tornadoes and stuff like that. But this is just very oppressive heat. And apparently Europe had they had their share last month in June, and oh boy, it really took its toll.
This is bad.
Yeah, Europe records 10,000 excess deaths amid extreme heat wave. France, Germany, and Spain saw temperatures exceed 40 C, which is in the 90s there. Hey, Rondo. Good. Yeah, it is. It is hot. Also, I don't know. I got nothing. I didn't want to curse, but I couldn't think of anything on the spot. But it is hot. It's very hot. Europe recorded more than 10,000 excess deaths last month, which have been attributed to the ongoing heat wave. That's according to Reuters, citing official mortality data. Western Europe experienced its hottest June on record, with temperatures exceeding 40 C. In parts of Germany, France, and Spain, Germany recorded a new national high of 41.7 degrees Celsius after breaking temperature records on 3 consecutive days, while France logged its hottest day ever, with temperatures reaching 43.8 degrees Celsius. For you Fahrenheit fans, that's like around the hundreds. The prolonged heat wave has fueled wildfires, disrupted transport and infrastructure, and contributed to a rise in heat-related illnesses and drowning deaths across the region. Figures published by Euromomo, a mortality monitoring network backed by the European Center for Disease Prevention and Control, and the World Health Organization. Hey, Dr. Donnie, good to see you. And the World Health Organization, who showed more than 9,000 of the excess deaths occurred among people aged 65 and older. Have this kind of excess at this time of year is unusual. It's really high. Lasse Vestergaard, chief physician at Denmark's Statens Serum Institute, which hosts Euromomo, told Reuters, it's difficult to explain this high excess mortality by anything but the extreme heat, he added. The Euromomo data was based on national mortality statistics from 27 European countries for the week of June 22nd through the 28th, when the heat wave peaked across much of Western Europe. Researchers told Reuters there were no other known major factors, such as COVID-19 outbreaks, that could explain the spike to 10,650 excess deaths. Extreme heat has become Europe's deadliest weather-related hazard because many heat-related fatalities are not officially attributed to high temperatures. Scientists use excess mortality to estimate the true impact of heat waves. Around 2,700 excess deaths were separately reported in England and Wales during May and June, according to estimates by Imperial College London, the Met Office, and the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine, as cited by Sky News. France, Belgium, and the Netherlands recorded 3,700 excess deaths last month. Extreme heat can kill by causing heat stroke or exacerbating cardiovascular and respiratory diseases, with older people among the most vulnerable. Henry Klug, the World Health Organization's regional director for Europe, warned last week that European countries must prepare for more deadly weeks as another heat wave is already forming over the Atlantic. Yes, so this is what we're getting this week, and this is going to go over the Atlantic, and here we go again in Europe. I hope they got some sort of cooling devices or mechanisms in place now after that last one.
Yeah. We've been talking about this. And again, we're used to this in the US. And people still die. And it's still, we still have major heat emergencies. But I'm really feeling for those folks over in Europe. They're just not set up for this. I don't know that they know. I don't know that they personally know strategies for cooling down. We're addicted to ice here, and you go over to other countries, particularly in Europe, and like, why are you putting ice in everything? And it's like, well, actually, it's pretty helpful on days. See, this is all full of ice.
This was full of ice, and now look, it's all melted.
Yeah.
I'm inside too. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah. And I'm this has got to be very difficult for those folks over there. And of course, there's, the larger problem of warming temperatures everywhere, and including in developing nations that don't have the kind of infrastructure to provide relief. And as I said, people can acclimate to temperatures, but at some point the human body just can't handle it.
Right. And another reason we put the ice in our drinks is because it brings down the core temperature inside. Otherwise, we just burn up, especially in all this oppressive heat like this.
And I don't think a lot of people over there necessarily don't even have the kind of freezers that we have. They don't have the big refrigerators. They don't have the big freezers that we have. I remember it was once I was looking on a UK appliance store website, and they had specifically American refrigerators, that had more capacity and all that. But they're going to have some real changes over there, and people are going to have to start, loading up on ice.
Yeah, I imagine a lot of those people that came over for the World Cup here and saw all our Walmarts and our big giant appliances and stuff were like just making fun of us at first, and then they go back home and they're like, oh, wait a minute, we could probably use one of them big giant freezers.
Maybe they're on to something. Yeah. As I said, yeah.
I don't know about the giant, like super gallons of soda, they're probably saying, but those freezers, that sounds like a really...
Those ice machines, man, having an ice machine on every floor in a hotel.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
That air conditioning. Yeah.
Don't knock that for sure. Well, household prices are rising again, and water wet, sky blue. The thing is, as Sleepy Joe said, Sleepy Joe's got a book coming out called. No, it's not called. It's just called ZZZZZ and then what? But he does have a book out. We can talk about that next time. So household prices rise again in June. I know, shocking. Cost of everyday household goods rose again in June following increases in April and May, according to Numerator's Consumer Goods Price Index, the CGPI. That reported month-over-month prices for everyday household purchases increased to 0.7% in June, following increases of 0.51% in May and 0.44% in April, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it adds up over time. Overall prices for everyday goods in June were up 3.4% versus a year ago. 3 straight months of accelerating consumer goods inflation have pushed price increases to their highest annual rate in nearly 3 years, said Paul Stanley, not the guy from Kiss, senior economist at Numerator. While lower gas prices provided some relief in June, the broader picture hasn't changed. Inflation continues to place the greatest strain on lower income households, which have now seen everyday prices rise nearly 36% in just 8 years, with geopolitical tensions continuing to create uncertainty around future price pressures. That gap is unlikely to narrow. So low income and Gen Z consumers continue to experience higher levels of inflation for everyday household goods. The prices have increased 35.7% and 39.4% respectively for those groups since January 2018 versus the 33.8% national average. Regionally, consumers in the South Census region have continued to experience higher levels of inflation since 2018. And of course, that's some of the poorest people in the country down there. So that's another, whack in the head there. When consumers were asked which issues they were most concerned about, 39% said rising prices and inflation, followed by global conflicts and wars at 24% and political instability at 13%. Similar to the U.S. Bureau of Economic Analysis personal consumption expenditures, the PCE price index, the numerator CGPI tracks prices and changes in consumer purchases over time. The data covers approximately 20% of the consumption basket captured in the overall PCE price index and closely tracks the PCE food and beverage index, offering a reliable signal of retail price changes experienced by U.S. consumers. I thought these prices were supposed to come down, Lainey. I thought there's some guy who claims to be the president said that, he was, that the last president was crazy with these prices. He was going to bring them down. I think he's confusing down with up, which tends to happen with politicians. What do you think?
Particularly as they get older.
Yes. Right. Well, I mean, the tariffs aren't doing anybody any good. And then the Cool Whip on the Poop Sunday is Trumpy giving refunds to these businesses on these tariffs, because I guess he was forced to do it. And you think consumers are going to see any of that?
No. And the Strait of Hormuz, we still, this is, now they're talking about charging extra for safe passage and so it's distraction, but it's the person, the average everyday person who is going to be who's going to have to be dealing with this, who at some point the prices go up that you can't cut back anywhere else. You've given up the avocado toast. You've given up the matcha latte. You've given up, and at some point you don't have enough to pay your bills. You're going to be going to food banks because you can't feed your household. There's a hard limit here.
And I still see people online saying, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Well, the bootstraps are broken and we can't afford more bootstraps, unfortunately. Got Lance Ripa in the house. What's going on? So many houses on the market that prices are crashing. The condo market is frozen. Ooh. You've given up the midnight Amazon. I know, right? That's where I was getting my avocado toast. Which would probably be ironic if avocado and toast were both reasonably cheap, and then they couldn't use that excuse anymore, I think. You and your avocado toast. Well, it's cheap. It's cheaper than milk or whatever.
I'm an expert of the clearance racks. And I think about what happened, I do it for myself, but I think about families where you've got children. And older people, and what if the person is on a special diet? I mean, I don't know how people do it.
Yeah, especially have multiple children too.
Yeah,
big families.
Yeah,
because they were told, we should have big, have lots of kids. That's the American way. And well, I guess now the American way is, how are you going to feed those kids? Speaking of Trump. Cases of diarrhea parasite cyclospora rise across the U.S. Is it safe to eat fresh produce? See, I did that because he's the diarrhea parasite. A lot of people my age or younger have largely given up on paid kinds of. I know, yeah. You have to find free entertainment. It's there.
Like breathing.
Yeah, like breathing.
Sometimes that's not all that easy.
Yeah,
if they keep on trying to defund the EPA, there we go.
Yeah. So in recent weeks, headlines about an explosive diarrhea parasite have been seemingly everywhere, causing widespread concern. Cyclosporiasis.
Now there's some free entertainment right there.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're a fan of that scene from Dumb and Dumber when he goes over to the girl's house and what's his face sabotages him with the stuff that he says, oh, yeah, that's that. Been there, done that. That's not a good time. Cyclosporiasis typically spreads through contaminated food and has been sickening thousands of people across the United States. The intestinal infection caused by the cyclospora parasite isn't new, and rates typically ramp up in the summer. However, the U.S. is seeing an unusually high number of cases this season, along with mysterious clusters in several regions. We were talking about the old Lone Star ticks, too, and now you got this stuff. On July 14th, which was yesterday, the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC, confirmed a large outbreak affecting 4 Midwestern states, including Michigan, which has recorded over half of all cases in the U.S. per NBC News' latest tally. The CDC said it is also investigating several potential outbreaks in other states. The very quick uptick, speaking of ticks, and high numbers of cases, I would say, is unusual. Callie Neal, PhD, professor of microbial food safety at the University of Delaware, said the parasite spreads to people through contaminated food or water, and past outbreaks have been linked to raw produce. Health officials are still racing to identify a potential source. In a statement released on Monday, the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services said early results point to lettuce or salad greens as a potential culprit in the state's outbreak, but that it still couldn't rule out other foods. So where is the parasite surging in the U.S., and is it safe to enjoy fresh fruits and vegetables this summer? What is going around? So it's caused by Cyclospora cayetanensis, the word right there, cayetanensis, a microscopic parasite caused in human feces. Ooh, there you go. People become infected by consuming food or water contaminated with particles of feces from an infected person, Neil explains. So if somebody's pooping on your salad, probably don't want to eat it. When ingested, cyclospora infects the small intestine and causes severe gastrointestinal upset. The main symptom of it is sudden, watery, explosive diarrhea, which may persist for weeks. Ooh, God, per the CDC. If you've ever had a stomach flu or food poisoning, this is exactly what we're talking about, but people describe it as being even worse. NBC medical contributor Dr. John Torres said in an interview on Today, cyclosporiasis is usually not life-threatening. Well, if you're doing it for weeks, it might be. And healthy people usually recover on their own, Neil says. However, treatment with a combination antibiotic is highly effective. After the parasite is shed in stool, it takes 1 to 2 weeks living outside the body to mature and become infectious, which makes person-to-person spread highly unlikely. Cyclospora can get into produce if it's grown in soil or washed with water contaminated with feces, for example. Fresh fruits and vegetables are common culprits, said Neil. Historically, outbreaks have been associated with travel to other countries, but in the last few years, we've seen an increasing number of cases tied to domestic and imported produce. Gwen Biggerstaff, deputy director of the CDC's Division of Foodborne Diseases, said on July 14th. So as of then, nearly 7,000 confirmed and probable cases of cyclosporiasis has been reported in more than half of U.S. states, according to the latest data from the CDC. So the CDC has confirmed 1,645 cases in 34 states since May 1st, the start of cyclosporiasis season in the U.S. Yeah, I always look forward to cyclosporiasis season. You know, I get to I get my my toilet cleaned, and yeah, it's a beautiful thing. It's also investigating another 5,100 cases, it said in a health alert. At least 141 people have been hospitalized with the diarrhea causing parasites so far. No deaths have been reported. Let me see. Okay. The majority of cases are in the Midwest, which is experiencing a large multi-state outbreak that began in late June. The CDC suspects at least 400 cases in Michigan, Ohio, West Virginia, and Kentucky are connected. The source is unknown. So we can talk about how you can avoid this infection. Don't eat. All right, that's our show for today. Thank you.
Yep.
Good night. Be sure to tip your waiters. The CDC has two major tips. First, avoid consuming food or water that may be contaminated with feces. Do we really have to tell people that? Do we really have to say, look, stop eating and drinking shitty
food that has shit in it? Yeah.
Please, can you stop eating shit? And second, see number one. No, okay. And second, follow food safety recommendations for safe preparation and storage, like cutting away damaged or bruised areas of produce or shitty portions of produce. And if you do have shit on your produce, you may
those brown spots, you can't trust them.
They may be brown for a reason. Yeah, you may want to reconsider your food sources there. I'm just saying, while a specific source is unknown, health officials are warning residents and restaurants in those hot spots to also do the following: buy whole heads of lettuce, not pre-washed bags. Separate and wash all cilantro and basil leaves. Trim the root end and peel the outer layer of green onions, because apparently you're allergic to shit too. Gently rub snow peas. Careful now. And other vegetables with your hands or brush as you wash them. Consider avoiding fresh fruits like raspberries with exteriors that are harder to wash. The only surefire way to avoid it: cooking vegetables, cyclospora die at 158 degrees Fahrenheit. So this is crazy. I mean, I think with some of these places, what I don't know for sure, but my theory is some places are using human feces as part of the fertilizer, and you shouldn't do that at all. Not for stuff you're going to eat anyway.
Okay, I'm going to give you my theory. That these farms are not providing appropriate toilet and hand washing facilities for their workers. And so that people are shitting in the fields because they don't have a place to shit. And if they do have a place to shit, they may not have adequate hand washing facilities with things like, soap and towels and things for, washing off their hands and being clean. Or they're not giving people breaks so that they can appropriately, wash their hands for several, for the couple of minutes. I think they tell you to sing happy birthday while you're washing your hands. That's the appropriate amount of time. And so that's what I think is happening. I know in Michigan, they think it's tied to bagged salad kits. And I love those bagged salad kits, but you're not going to really be able to wash the pieces are too small. You're not going to be able to, unless you have a salad spinner, you're not going to be able to dry that off after washing it. So yeah, go with those whole heads of lettuce or cabbages and whatnot, scrub them, cook them, whatever. But I think this is possibly pointing to a much more serious problem. And that is the complete failure to guard the dignity and safety of their workers. And now this is literally trickling down to the consumer.
I see what you did there. Flooding makes sewers overflow, contaminating the fields that farmers will plant too. What's up, Global? Good to see you. Yeah, I mean, this may not be just like one particular thing, like you said. Yeah. It could be various things, but the bottom line is there's some sort of negligence going on. There's not quality assurance being taken into consideration with a lot of these foods like that. And you see a lot of that happen when places don't have to adhere to certain rules because certain people are in power and say, oh, these regulations are dumb, let's get rid of these. And then the next thing you know, you're pooping yourself for like 2 hours and wondering, about your life choices at that point.
Yeah, and in a lot of cases, I mean, when you're dealing with agricultural workers who are being paid by the basket or something like that, I mean, they're wanting to speed things up. They want to pick things quickly, and if you don't have toilet facilities nearby, I mean, it's going to cause issues, and I think that this is absolutely systemic, and people are going to get sick from eating fruits and veggies. Just at a time when people are trying to, the powers that be are trying to get people to eat fruits and veggies. Great.
Can you imagine if you got bit by the Lone Star tick and you got that stuff that makes you poop? So you couldn't eat fresh vegetables and you couldn't eat meat. So what's left? The bugs are coming. You know what I mean? The bugs. You heard about the bugs coming? Nom, 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 noms. Yeah, no, thank you. I don't want to eat bugs if that's at all possible. Speaking of dead bugs, we talk about our politicians.
Yeah.
I'm a jerk. Don't listen to me. And health transparency with our politicians. They should they be telling us what's wrong with them, Lainey?
I started looking into this. This whole thing with Mitch McConnell. We'll get into it a little bit more, but we were even talking about it last week. Was that nobody is believing the story that's coming out about him at this point? And as I pointed out, that some of this could be resolved by allowing the Kentucky governor to actually go in and visit him and talk to him, and that whatever. There was released a photograph that nobody believes is actually real with Elaine Chao and Mitch McConnell. Nobody believes that photograph is genuine, and I don't know. I mean, I can't honestly say this. You and I have now some time. It's probably going back to February, I think it is, Uncle Warren. We began to talk about the fact that seeing is no longer believing.
Right.
And that people no longer, we cannot trust anything that we're seeing, even if it appears to be, even if our own eyes are telling us that this is what we're seeing, we can't trust it. And so this is what's happened in this particular case. We don't trust this. And we had Ron Johnson out of Wisconsin who stated he questioned what was going on, with this particular photo. And then he retracted that. Discount that. So somebody clearly got to him. But when we have politicians, and he's a Republican, coming in and questioning their own party's line, and then of course retracting very quickly, it does not encourage trust at all. And it's got me thinking, what are any of the obligations? Okay, this is a really good point, Lance. Okay, yeah. Here's the thing though. Who's doing the screening? And who's reporting on it? Remember the whole Ronnie Jackson thing with Trump, his doctor who was, giving him clean bill of health, listing a weight that many people questioned. And granted, you can't always tell what a person weighs by looking at them, but people were really questioning that. People are discounting doctors, what the doctors are saying. They're discounting medical reports. And it'd be great. Yeah. I mean, I'd love to see, screenings like this, but is it happening? Is it not happening? And also it turns out that politicians are covered under HIPAA. Nobody is, their medical professionals are bound to maintain confidentiality. People can violate their own confidentiality or can choose to not, to say, waive that confidentiality. But when it really comes down to it, turns out is that with politicians, even those in pretty serious positions, the upshot of it is that information is disclosed by their comms team, which has its own agenda. And at this point, given AI, the fact that people have lost trust in individuals and organizations, the medical profession in general, we saw what happened during COVID, and people no longer believed officials. Oh, good to see you, Willie. We even if politicians were required to be transparent, is anybody going to believe that transparency?
No, I'm not.
Yeah,
Not anymore. That's for sure.
Who is doing the evaluation?
Right, exactly.
But we have a situation now. We had people like Fetterman. He's had a history of medical issues, but he's relatively young. We had another guy, I forget his name, who was recently out for several months being treated for depression. And he was gone for several months, and they had to finally admit that he was in for depression, which everybody was pretty sympathetic to. And I think on the whole, it was a good thing. But again, he was not doing his job.
Right.
And we wouldn't, even in the private sector, that would not be allowed. I mean, you can always get Family Medical Leave Act, and you might have certain rights in the workplace, but you're expected to disclose to the people who are employing you what is going on with our politicians, that they feel no particular obligation to disclose this information. And in this case, we have Mitch McConnell, who has been in office for a very long time, is extremely entrenched. And we have bizarre behavior from his wife heading off to China. We have people coming up with saying, oh, I spoke to him, reporting the exact same conversation. Yeah. And a governor who has been neutered from being able to manage this situation, fuming, and a deadline coming up. What are we supposed to think? What does this do to the nation when there is absolutely no accountability, but at the same time, any approach toward accountability, nobody's going to trust that anyways.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, that's the thing. It's like used to, you would get, if someone was in the hospital, they would give you updates. They would say like, oh, well, this person's in critical but stable condition, or this person is in stable condition, and that sort of thing. And with Mitch McConnell, it's like, oh no, he's fine. He's fine. He'll be up and around soon. So, and it's like, no, that's not good enough. And then you consider the source of that information. You go, because I think we had talked about this before with Thomas Massey being probably the front runner to take his place in a special election if he chooses to run for that. And they have no love loss in the Republican Party for Thomas Massey, especially after he's gone against them on so many issues.
Right. But this is not a new thing. We know, for example, that Ronald Reagan was in his second term in a decline, which was being covered up. Not good. Not good at all, given the fact that we were in the Cold War at that time. And some people do argue that Gorbachev actually cooperated to end the Cold War because he saw that Reagan was in decline and realized it scared him and said, okay, we can't have this happening. We do know, and it's actually, thinking about it, Woodrow Wilson, he, for a long time, it is said that his wife was running the country. And that was kind of being concealed. We have President Franklin FDR. You ever notice when you look at the pictures of him with Stalin and Churchill, they're all sitting down. Yeah. They didn't want to acknowledge that he was in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
You never see that today, but that was what was going on. So covering this up is a long tradition. But we've also seen it recently, again, with Ronald Reagan. We saw it with Joe Biden. And this is one of the many reasons I did not like Kamala Harris, because she participated in that charade. And that was a problem. But Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Yeah.
She should not, she was not in great shape. She was holding on for reasons that are not clear to me. And look what happened to the Supreme Court. Again, she could have retired a long time ago. And this is where I'm coming down to. I don't know that we can force full health transparency. I would like to see it, but since nobody trusts politicians, nobody trusts the government, or you want to call it the deep state or what, or the doctors that work for them. One thing may be, again, to start putting in age limits. Term limits, I'm all about. Honestly, you have a couple of terms in the Senate. You can maybe go 16 years in the House of Representatives. You've got your insider trading done, your book deals, and you're set there. But I think also that bringing back the idea of age limits. There are, in federal office, there are minimum age limits, or minimum ages for those roles, and on the whole, I tend to agree with them. But we need to start looking, in my view, at age caps. And part of the reason is that as we age, we get just more fragile.
Mm-hmm.
I know this. You know this. You and I are the same age. And it's not, things hit me harder. Things just absolutely hit me harder at this point. And as you get older, you become more fragile. And yes, you can be in incredibly good shape, sharp as a tack, but one fall can really take you out. An illness, you just don't bounce back as easily from that. And that remains a significant concern. And when you have people who perhaps are vested in keeping you in office for various reasons, and who might be willing to blow smoke up your patoot, and will gas up the people around you to keep you in that role, that becomes very dangerous. And Uncle Warren, if you want, I want to show something here. We have this is actually, I had a look at the age of people when they went into office. I don't know if you remember this when we were kids, Uncle Warren, but I remember saying that Ben Franklin, who was at that point, well into his 70s, refused to become the next president of the United States. He said he was too old. I don't know if you remember that when you were a kid. But if you start looking,
I was a kid when Ben Franklin was around, so we're that old.
I remember being told that. Yeah, I remember being told that.
Being told that. Yeah, that too.
Being told that in school. Yeah, sorry, yeah. I wasn't as clear as I should have been. You see, this is what happens when you get old. You're not as clear as you used to be. But if you start looking at these ages here, and how long they were in office, and we start seeing William Henry Harrison. He was 68. Now that was relatively. Look how long he was in office. He basically got a cold.
He was the oldest president at that time.
Yeah.
And he lasted a little over a month.
Yeah. He basically did not take care of his health, and got himself there. So you start looking around, and some of the older guys did not really last. But if you look, most of these presidents were in their 40s and 50s when they became president. You kind of start moving in. We start seeing the presidency as kind of an honorary Oscar. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
It's not. It ought not to be. It ought not to be. But you start seeing. And people were getting older. It's easier to. There's a lot better medical care, so that you can remain very active, but the outcome has not been great when you look at this. Reagan was, I think, 69. We have Trump was 70, then Joe Biden was 78, and then Trump again 78. They're not, this is not, in my opinion, looking good. We saw what happened with Nancy Pelosi. Not in great shape. Maxine Waters, a number of these people not in great shape. I think they're being kept in office for reasons that I'm not real clear on, other than that they're easy to manipulate. And then we're also left with another problem. If people are going to complain about young people lacking civil engagement and going into office, well, what are they going to run for? Yeah. You've got somebody completely entrenched in that seat. And then the person cannot come up appropriately, unless they're Barack Obama, who very clearly was handpicked for that role.
Mm-hmm.
But that's rare. So you have common, ordinary people who don't have the ability to work their way up because people are not leaving their seats. I believe that as much as I would like to see more health transparency, we've lost that. We've lost the credibility battle. People just don't trust it. So I think age limits, term limits, and age limits are where we're going to have to go.
Yeah, and and these Congress people are the only ones right now who can change those laws, and they're not going to do that if it's going to go against their best interest. So the only other alternative you have to that is maybe a state ballot initiative where the people speak up in each state and say, hey, look, we want these term limits. These people should not be in here for this. Yeah, like you said, maybe age limits, but more importantly, the term limits, very definitely, because these people that are in there now are just profiting left and right from all kinds. Nancy Pelosi, you mentioned her. She's been, insider trading. She hasn't been formally accused, but we know she went in with a certain amount of money, and now she's worth millions and millions and millions. That's not from like saving money in the piggy bank. You know what I mean? There's some shenanigans going on that we know for sure. But I think a lot of these changes, if we want changes in government like this, the people in the states are going to have to rise up with these state ballot initiatives, and at least to try and force the issue. Yeah. Right. Or at least hold these politicians that are these elected officials to account, so that they say, hey, look, no vote for you unless you vote for this. And, they're supposed to be our representatives too. That's the messed up part.
And we have a vested interest in their health. We have a vested interest in their health. But I think at this point, trying to put those requirements, nobody trusts the process. No. I will also point out that many churches apparently do have mandatory retirement ages for their clergy. Really? The Pope, I think, is in office until, Benedict ended up resigning. But I think the Episcopal Church, I want to say there's a mandatory retirement age of around 75. I think we're there, and I do think that we need to really reconsider whether we think that everybody at every age is able to do some of these jobs. But in the meantime, term limits may be the way to go.
I mean, you could say anything you want about like Mitch McConnell, but the fact that they won't let the governor visit him, it screams conspiracy that something is afoot.
And that members of his own party have publicly questioned a photograph. Yeah.
And then got a good talking to. And then all of a sudden, I don't know what I was talking about. I was, daddy likes a little sauce, that kind of thing. And I don't think we're ever going to get any kind of transparency. They're working on these long exposés. Yeah. Well, I mean, they're in the tank too. Yeah. A lot of these places, these media companies are, depending on your flavor of, a politician too. So we'll see what happens with old Mitchie Poo. And I don't know, man. I think I personally, I got a gut feeling that he's at least incapacitated to the point where he has no more brain function. You know what I mean? And that's why they're scared to death. That was the whole thing about this and Lindsey Graham. It's like they're trying to hide what was going on with Mitch McConnell, and to try, I guess, maybe to keep Thomas Massey out, or to maintain some sort of, thing about having the numbers in the Senate or whatever. And then Lindsey Graham dies. And they're like, well, I'm like, what? Well, now you don't have to hide them anymore. Come on.
Well, the thing with Lindsey Graham is he died. John Ritter, the actor John Ritter, died of that same condition. And
Mhm.
I remember at the time, it was just they didn't know he had the problem. And I remember seeing a doctor on TV who said, yeah, it's not something that they normally screen for. It's but it happens. So I don't know what was going on with Lindsey Graham, whether he was aware that he had the condition or not. Um, and that sounded like it was just more, one of those things that you can be alive one day, dead the next.
Yeah.
And it's certainly at that age, that's more likely to happen.
Yeah, exactly. I tend to lean more towards that he wasn't, assassinated like some
No,
people were saying.
no,
It's
I
like
don't think that.
the people who would assassinate him would be on his side. So
Lindsey Graham was always very confusing to me. I know that he had a reputation for being able to work with people on both sides of the aisle. For me, I could never understand what his appeal as a politician was. Uh, that I'm looking at him and I'm thinking to myself, I wouldn't vote for this guy for dog catcher. He just didn't seem to have a personality, and so that always kind of confused me about him.
I think his appeal, at least within the political elite, there was because he was a super fan of the country that begins with an I and ends with Zreal. So yeah, so we'll definitely keep an eye on what's going on with Mitch. But right now it's time to get to the recurring tide, of course, stories we've been covering and updating. And ice is starting to melt. Speaking of ice earlier, but not that ice. Ice pauses vehicle stops after deadly shootings in Texas and Maine.
Imagine that.
Wow. Federal immigration officials have been instructed to stop pulling over vehicles until further notice, according to a Homeland Security source, following 2 recent deadly shootings in Texas and Maine, during which officials shot and killed immigrants in vehicles, and not to mention the 2 people in Minnesota, too. Other news outlets, including Fox News and CNN, confirmed that officials nationwide received the instructions, with the former reporting some vehicle stops would be allowed to target the most egregious criminal aliens, which means pretty much everybody. The Homeland Security source told The Guardian the email did not include much explanation as to why immigration officials were told to stop pulling vehicles over, but the high-profile shootings in the past week have renewed calls for accountability for immigration enforcement related deaths amid the Trumpies' aggressive anti-immigrant arrests and deportations. A spokesperson for the Department of Homeland Security said in an email to The Guardian, "We are always evaluating our procedures to keep our officers safe and criminals off the street." To keep our officers safe, man, what about the public? We will not disclose or discuss law enforcement tactics.
Why not?
Or any of the other criminal stuff that we're doing. Yeah, because they're criminals. I think that's basically what it is. So on Monday morning, 26-year-old Johann Sebastian Duran Guerrero, who was shot and killed by an ICE official in Maine. Duran Guerrero was killed less than a week after Lorenzo Salgado Araujo was shot by an ICE officer in Houston while he was on his way to work. Both cases led to public outcry, with communities, lawmakers, and civil liberties groups calling for independent investigations into the shootings. In both cases, the officials were not wearing body cameras. Oh, shocking. They weren't wearing body cameras. Funny how that works. All the crazy stuff happens, and then the cameras seem to be broken or just out of place. Isn't that weird how that works? Fox News reported on Tuesday that the suspension of vehicle stops would be temporary until ICE officers receive new training on vehicle stops. It's called the Stop Killing People training. I've heard of that, but it doesn't seem to take very well. Last week, following Salgado's shooting, ICE told The Guardian in a statement the agency had already instituted additional training for new ICE officers, including for high-risk vehicle stops. That new training began in July, with ICE officers who were already working on enforcement operations follow-up training. Federal immigration officials, including officers with ICE and Customs and Border Protection, have shot and killed 11 people since January of last year. 5 people fatally shot by ICE officials, including Duran Guerrero, Salgado, and 3 others, were all in their vehicles. In most of the cases, DHS claimed that people weaponized their vehicles against federal law enforcement officers, leading the officials to shoot. Yeah, that's been the new thing. They were driving at us, and like times. Well, if your body cam was working, we would have seen that, wouldn't we? Claims by DHS officials were later disputed after footage of the separate incidents cast doubt on the department's claims, to say the least. One of the highest profile cases was the killing of Renee Good, a U.S. citizen in Minneapolis, who was shot and killed by an ICE officer in January. So, yeah, this train, all that is government speak for, we're going to sweep this under the rug. Sure, they're going to get new training, and then the same stuff's just going to keep happening over and over again.
Yeah, I mean, for me also, it's okay, if people are weaponizing their cars against this, frankly, paramilitary goon squad, you might want to think about that. When you have everyday residents or citizens who are carrying guns to demonstrations, or who are weaponizing cars, or who are screaming, yelling, playing March of the Imperium or whatever. If this keeps on happening, it maybe tells you that everyday folks don't really like your particular little governmental wing here.
Yeah, and just a reminder that ICE was born out of the Patriot Act after 9/11. When the paranoia was rampant then, and more bureaucracy was added to the federal government than ever before. So a lot of people out there wanting the smaller government before then, but some of them are just like, yeah, we need to get rid of these foreigners. It's like, all right, you probably need to look at it a little more with a little more nuance when it's just it's yes, some of these illegal immigrants are criminals, but at the same time, when the people who are trying to enforce the law are doing criminal acts and you're not doing anything about it, it's just that's just one of those things. It's like we can't let that stand, So we go from ice to ice cream. That was a horrible segue. Talking about grocers, because they sell ice cream. When you got to explain it, it's no good. Rhode Island blocks grocers from keeping competitors out after they leave. Interesting. So Rhode Island Governor Dan McKee signed into law legislation that prohibits supermarket operators from adding restrictions to real estate contracts designed to prevent spaces they vacate from being used by other grocers. The new law, which took effect immediately, blocks a practice that state lawmakers said had led to the creation of food deserts and disproportionately impacted lower income communities. The covenants prohibited for decades the sale of fresh food and other goods on real estate formerly occupied by grocery stores, according to a statement from McKee's office. That sounds crazy. Mm-hmm. McKee joined Rhode Island Lieutenant Governor Sabina Matos, the bill's co-sponsors, and others, including Save-A-Lot store owner Alberto Duran, for a ceremonial signing ceremony in Woonsocket, Rhode Island. State Representative Stephen M. Casey, who co-sponsored the measure, indicated that he was motivated to introduce the measure by restrictive covenants causing supermarket closures in Woonsocket that he said left the city of about 43,000 residents with only one grocery store. So much for the free market and competition, right? Woonsocket officials had tried for years to alleviate the supermarket shortage in the city, but ran into obstacles posed by restrictive covenants imposed on several parcels of land appropriate for a grocery store, according to a Wednesday statement from the Rhode Island General Assembly. While the practice might be good for the bottom line of these multi-million-dollar companies, it leaves many residents, especially those with limited mobility or access to reliable transportation, without convenient access to the essential neighborhood resource that is a grocery store, Casey said in a statement about the use of deed restrictions by large grocery chains. Ending this practice will be a great benefit to Woonsocket and all the communities across Rhode Island that are suffering from the same situation. Rhode Island follows Washington State in enacting legislation that blocks grocers' use of restricted covenants. That state's Governor Bob Ferguson in March signed a bill outlawing agreements that restrict property from being used for a grocery store or pharmacy. The legislation went into effect in June. That's some crazy stuff.
People don't know about that. People
I've
don't
never
know
heard
about
about
that.
that.
Yeah. They'll say, they'll sign something. You can't open up. You can't rent to the property owners cannot rent the space to or sell the space to another competing business. You'll have a place that will, they'll move to a bigger store, but that you can't put another store like that in that space. And it's nuts. It's horrific, particularly given the fact that people need to eat, and that there's for many people don't have cars. So convenience is a real important issue for these folks. And I'm glad to see that this is happening. And again, this is the idea of saying, well, the free market allows for these restrictive covenants so that people can protect their own, companies can protect their own interests. Yeah, right.
Doesn't sound very free to me.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
But they're saying, well, it's private property rights, and but the thing is, it's the bigger companies that can force this kind of thing.
Right,
they can enforce these kind of restrictions. Well, we want to get this big company in town because they have lower prices, bigger, more assortments. They have, they can employ people, but that also can allow that company to bully a town into giving all kinds of concessions. This is one concession that no business should have, or at least no business that it offers an essential service, and food is essential service.
Yeah, it's just it's cruelty to people. It's punishment. It seems like that, just so somebody can make an extra buck for themselves and do that to people like that. I've noticed. I have a friend in New York City who's told me about that Mamdani is opening public grocery stores there in these food deserts where there's no other viable options there. And I could possibly see that could be like a precedent for these other states too, that may be having these troubles. Like, okay, well, maybe we won't put something there, but the government can put a grocery store if they buy it, because they're, it's, I don't know. I don't know the legal ramifications of it.
There are states that have state-owned liquor stores.
Mm-hmm.
That's the state's business. They own the liquor stores, and there are some issues with that, and particularly if you want to get certain kinds of wine. But we'll talk about that later. But it's not unusual for the state to go into to handle certain markets like this. So I'm not necessarily opposed to the idea of a state-run grocery store, as long as they're not mandating that all grocery stores being run by the state. But why not do that?
Because it's the right thing to do, and that seems to be a rarity these days. Well, and it's not just grocery stores that are being affected by things like this. It's food banks on national and local levels experiencing a triple threat to their vital support. Food banks. So it's 9:30 on Thursday morning in Chesterton, and a modest group of area residents has already started gathering at a set of glass double doors for the 10 a.m. opening of the community food pantry located at 105 North Mill Street. Despite the continued best efforts of community supporters across Kent County, food insecurity issues remain top of mind for many individuals and families, as well as the local organizations that seek to address these growing needs. While many headlines regarding increased food pantry patronage focus on Montgomery and Prince George's County impacts due to forced federal workforce reductions concentrated in those areas, there are indications the entire state has been affected. Do you happen to know what state this is?
Shoot.
Chesterton is. Well, that's okay. Maybe it'll say in here. So a trio of factors have been cited as causes: a surge in need, shrinking federal aid, and increased operational costs. This perfect storm of factors has sparked concern hyperlocally as well. So Deanne Jones, program director of Community Food Pantry located in the rear of the First United Methodist Church, says she has seen a shift. When we saw the uptick here, that was obviously in November 2025, when everybody else saw that with the pause in SNAP benefits, while larger legislation regarding SNAP benefits passed with the One Big Beautiful Bill Act in July of 2025. November's impact, which Jones said resulted in a 40% increase in visitors to their pantry, was tied more directly to the federal government shutdown going on at that time. And just a side note, I just find it funny that, people talking about communism or socialism or something like that say, yeah, you want them bread lines? You want them bread lines? Well, guess what? We've got bread lines, and we don't have communism or socialism here. So put two and two together, y'all. The demand at the Chesterton facility has ebbed since the shutdown ended. However, it may prove to be a cautionary tale of what the future might look like when it comes to local need going forward, especially as the BBB Act provisions go into effect in October this year. Increased scrutiny as to who should qualify for assistance has resulted in the setting of enhanced requirements for eligibility, and the more complicated process to apply could mean a number of those who could truly benefit from SNAP won't have the access to the benefit. This combined with the increased cost of just about everything, especially groceries, and particularly the non-tainted ones, could have our essential pantry stretched to greater limits. So Vicki Anderson, director of the Blessing Bag program at the Seventh-day Adventist Church in Rock Hall, says they also experienced the same demand back in November, and she remains concerned about the bigger picture going forward. Our pantry as well saw a spike in visits last fall and has also leveled out, she explains. However, we have seen an overall increase in our weekly visits this year compared to last year. Our pantry is open once a week, and neighbors are eligible to visit each week. To date, we've had 2,311 visits this year. At the same time last year, we had 1,812 visits. So we definitely are seeing more individuals and families visiting our pantry in 2026. We continue to sign up new individuals and families each week as more people are needing assistance. The Seventh-day Adventist Pantry, which is open every Tuesday, has seen a week-over-week increase since the end of 2025, going from about 74 visits each week to 89 per week, with an average of 1 to 2 new families registering for aid most weeks. Both area pantries are also noting another commonality among those who seek support. We do notice more individuals coming into us that are employed, says Jones. So this whole thing of why don't you go get a job then? You want to feed yourself, go get a job. Well, some of these people have jobs, jackass. Yeah. Said Jones. Well, Jones didn't say that. I added that part. So adding that they are often wearing their employer's provided logo imprinted uniform or work shirt to the pantries. So the need being experienced by working families and individuals who just can't make ends meet without some form of assistance is also increasing as families shift their budgets to pay for shortfalls in their housing, utilities, and health insurance costs, among other costs. Sure. Anderson, who refers to all visitors to the Rock Hall facility as neighbors, is growing increasingly concerned about seniors and small children, as SNAP benefits have been traditionally lean to begin with. We know that 23% of the neighbors, it may be 23,000, that visit our pantry are senior citizens. Most of the people in this category are living on Social Security benefits only and have very limited incomes. Some of these neighbors live in public housing, but find that their rent increases every time their Social Security benefits increase, explains Anderson. We are also hearing from our neighbors that receive SNAP benefits that they are only receiving $24 a month, and some say $52 a month. Many of our neighbors report that they visit more than one pantry a week to receive enough food to last them. Again, we were talking about that earlier about, having big families and, trying to, work around that. Anderson says their numbers indicate that 15% of their neighbors are children, while 62% figure representing adults. I do feel that the number of children that are in our families is much higher. And once we finish reviewing information that this number will be higher, she says. Some of the adults that visit report that they work part-time or have seasonal jobs. Others do full-time work. Among those working full-time, she says, all have reported that once they pay their housing, transportation, daycare, and medication costs, there is very little left for groceries. Heating costs and high electric bills hit our neighbors hard this year, and many struggle to keep their electricity turned on. She said, while at least for the foreseeable future, conditions are not expected to improve dramatically, both facilities are aware of what may lie ahead. Jones is buoyed by the many ways the community steps in to assist those experiencing food insecurity, including Pantry's Backpack and Summer Meals for Kids programs, and the tremendous support the Pantry receives by the way of volunteers. I have an absolutely phenomenal group of volunteers. I have folks who are here every day, and they are just very seasoned and love being here. Jones explains. For her part, Anderson is addressing the anticipation of increased visits coming this fall and winter by seeking proactive solutions. I'm actively working on applying for additional grants, and we'll soon do another yearly mailing to businesses in our town asking for donations, she says. Okay, there's not much left. So currently we work with these 3 stores and 1 farm in our area that donate items to our pantry weekly. I would love to see more donations from other local businesses or farms to help feed our neighbors. Even purchasing at discounted rates from local farms of items left over from the farmers market or items that have an overabundance would be a great benefit and help us to provide more healthy options to what we are able to offer. Yeah, so these food banks are kind of dealing with the same situation that everybody else is, trying to buy food. These food prices go sky high. And again, these people who say, well, get a job, pick yourself up by the bootstraps or whatever, they obviously don't realize the overall situation of what's going on with these high prices.
I'm also pursuing a story right now. Hopefully we'll have more information next week about certain government payments that were supposed to be that food banks. There's food banks, and then there are food providers, but food pantries. But the food banks that are actually getting the food and then distributing it to the food pantries, they're having some issues right now with certain federal cuts that are cutting off payments that were supposed to go to farmers to pay for food that could be fresh food that could be distributed. There's a lawsuit that was just recently filed, I want to say in Pennsylvania. I'll have more information next week. But yeah, this supply chain is being messed up, particularly with the SNAP benefits being cut. And keep in mind, SNAP is really the most efficient way to get food to people in need, because you do not need a separate system for that. You don't have a separate supply chain. The logistics are the same as they are for anybody who walks into a grocery store and pays for them. And also keep in mind, now we've got people potentially in the households who, for example, are afraid of ice. So there are actually going to be these, we talk about larger households, there are going to be people there who are not, who either would qualify for SNAP, they may even be legal, but they're afraid that they're going to be challenged. Because we know that ICE has done that, people who are here legally, that, this is really a mess for these smaller organizations. We're seeing breakdowns in multiple places. We have a supply chain, a global supply chain problem. We have the SNAP program being interfered with. We have allocations, budget of the Department of Agriculture being appropriated elsewhere. We've got the food banks are breaking down, and then the food pantries are left, holding the bag, an empty bag as it is, with an increased number of people coming in and needing food support.
And just a reminder to people, when we were kids, we always used to hear America #1, but guess what? We're only #1 in 2 things now: incarceration per capita and defense budget. So, and neither one of those things help people put food on the table.
Yeah. So,
just a friendly reminder.
And keep in mind how many people in the military rely on food stamps.
Yeah. Yeah. And they were giving no sway to veterans either on the food, on the SNAP.
Yeah.
You should say they were just rolled, so much for taking care of our veterans, right? It's like, what have you done for me lately kind of situation. Let's move on to our favorite subject, AI. Always interesting is what I call it. or I could call it something else, but it's a little foul. It will be potty mouth. So AI carts know what you almost bought. What is this about? Robots, you getting up in my business. Retailers have always known what customers bought. They have rarely known what customers almost bought. Customers pick up an item and put it back, compare products and reject one, or walk past an aisle twice before moving on. The gap in the data is where merchandising decisions go wrong, promotional dollars get misallocated, and brands lose sales they never knew were available. So Instacart's artificial intelligence-powered caper carts, caper, that's an interesting choice of words, we should probably put that in our bottom feeders. We do another one of those. Are designed to close it. Now, Instacart and Weiss markets are deploying caper carts at select Weiss locations in Pennsylvania, according to a June 4th press release. The move brings real-time basket tracking. Oh, that's not dystopian. Personalized coupons, loyalty redemption, and on-cart advertising directly into Weiss's grocery aisles. The carts are equipped with basket-facing cameras, weights and measures, certified scales, location tracking, and outward-facing cameras connected to touchscreens, all feeding into a cloud AI system trained on more than 1.6 billion online grocery orders. The release said the system already has a behavioral signal. In-cart prompts such as "got everything you need" have increased basket size by nearly 1 percentage point on average, and the creep factor up about 1,000. That is a small number on a single trip and a significant number across millions of them. Caper carts are now live in more than 100 cities across 15 states and more than a dozen retail banners, including K. Roger, Schnucks, and Wakefern. I've never heard of Schnucks.
Oh yeah, Schnucks is it's more like Central Illinois. There was one down in Bloomington Normal, but it was a high-end grocery store before Whole Foods kind of was doing that thing.
I know I've been to a place called Schmucks, but those people weren't very bright. Instacart tripled caper cart deployments last year over year. Deployments year over year, the release said. Yes, Schmucks was or maybe I was the schmuck for going in there. The commercial case for small carts rests on a data set physical retail has never been able to build. Online retailers have always tracked what users searched, what they clicked, what they added to their carts and removed. We could probably thank Obama for that, maybe Bush too. And how long they spent on a product page. Stores have tracked only what was purchased. A small cart that watches what goes into the basket, what gets removed, which location-based offer triggers a purchase, and which gets ignored produces the physical equivalent of clickstream data. It's a continuous record of shopper intent that never made it to a receipt. As a leader in physical AI, we're giving retailers like Weiss Markets a competitive advantage by bringing together in-store and online data through through technology like caper carts to help them understand and respond to their customers with a level of intelligence that simply wasn't possible before. It was probably possible before, but no.
You could talk to your customers. There was always just talking.
Yeah, what about that? The whole human contact thing. Yeah, that's still a thing. You know, you can still talk to humans. So Instacart reported first quarter 2026 gross transaction value of $10.29 billion, up 13% year over year. The Consumer Insights portal, which gives brands real-time consumer behavior data, added Kraft Heinz as a new subscriber in the same quarter. Maybe want to get a competing brand there, kids. Not saying, just saying. The caper cart expands that data layer from the online basket into the physical store. In-aisle behavior data is becoming retail's advertising asset. So Instacart is not alone in building towards this data set. Amazon, shocking, I know, you're shocked, launched its store analytics service in 2022 to show brands how their products are discovered, considered, and purchased in physical stores. The company is now expanding its Dash Cart to dozens of Whole Foods market locations across the United States. Walmart Chile, is that like the country? Deployed AI-equipped smart carts at 5 Leader Express stores in 2024 using computer vision technology that recognizes thousands of products with more than 95% accuracy. The behavioral data these systems generate is not just an operational asset, it's an advertising asset, of course. Weeze Markets is launching on-cart advertising with Caper Carts, giving brands a channel to reach shoppers in the aisle at the moment of decision rather than before or after it. The payments intelligence report, that's this outfit here, payments intelligence report, global digital shopping index, the AI powered shopper has arrived, found that 47% of online shoppers used AI during their most recent purchase, and 64% said they expect to use AI shopping agents within 2 years. That shift is compressing the window in which physical retail can claim a data advantage. An AI agent that handles a grocery order from a smartphone never enters the store and generates no in-aisle behavior signal. A smart cart generates that signal precisely because it is present when a shopper changes their mind. Now, I'm not one to say that we shouldn't use technology to help us, right? I mean, like if you have your own personal AI program and you say, hey, and you put in there like, hey, find me the best deals on these particular brand of shoes that I want to get. And then they pull up different websites and stuff. I mean, you know, I'm not a super fan of AI, but if you're going to use that, that's a good way to use it. And you have control over that. But when you have stuff like this, that's like cameras in the basket. What? No, thank you. 1984. We'll have none of that, please.
No, and you know, you get mad at people for wearing Meta glasses, and remember Google Glass, that got people physically thrown out of places, and that was what, like 20 years ago, something like that. But they have no problem with shopping carts doing all this. And again, I remind people, this data, you know, where is it being? It's being repackaged, being sold. And what happens when you apply for a job? And it tells, you know, that you get some data in there that basically informs an employer that maybe your nutrition score, what is good nutrition score in your shopping basket, is lower than average. Would somebody perhaps choose to not hire you because you're buying soda pop rather than carrots? Or what if you're buying conventional produce instead of organic? Think about what could happen with that kind of data. You know, it's one of the things that I kind of like about our local farmers market here is that the vendors are absolute that they prefer cash. And when you pay in cash, let me just say you get a better deal. And it's the same thing even at the restaurants around here. They will charge you, I think we mentioned it last week, they will charge you if you use a credit card, they charge you what they pay in a credit card fee. But you don't have to pay that if you're paying in cash. But there's maybe another benefit to this. I mean, it's very tempting to use your card and get your points or what, your points, your perks and all that. But keep in mind, you've become a product at that point. And when you try to sell yourself to an employer, they may be looking at that. Or you want to get insurance. Or you're applying for credit or something like that. And they can look at that and they say, well, we're going to extrapolate from this data. This person buys conventional produce as well as soda pop. And maybe we don't give them a good interest rate, or maybe we don't hire them, or we pay them less, or we charge them more for insurance. Just a thought.
And you thought your health insurance was high this time. Wait till they get a hold of you eating that whole box of Little Debbie Star Crunch. And
those are good, aren't they?
It's hard to go against her. She has wicked powers. Little Debbie. She's not so little. Maybe in stature, but not in power.
No.
Especially against my tummy. I love some Star Crunch.
She is a magnet, and you are steel, Uncle Warren.
Stop it with your womanly wiles. Let's talk about something more uplifting, like war. You like war?
What is it good for?
Absolutely nothing. Say it again.
Except enriching certain people.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. The Democrats got a 3D printer and somehow managed to construct a spine for themselves as U.S. Senate Democrats blocked defense bill over Iran war and Israel integration. Yes. What is that about? So Democrats in the U.S. Senate have blocked debate on an annual defense policy bill. It's one of those must pass bills, right? Because it's defense spending. Objecting not only to Trumpy's war on Iran, but also to provisions that would more closely integrate the U.S. and Israeli militaries. So the Senate voted 50-46 on Tuesday, almost entirely along party lines. John Fetterman didn't vote, just so you know, against opening debate on the National Defense Authorization Act, also known as the NDAA, in a rare setback for one of the legislature's few must-pass pieces of legislation. The annual defense policy bill sought to authorize much of a $1.15 trillion military budget proposed by Trumpy. The motion needed 60 votes to advance in the 100-member Senate, and usually this thing just passes like 99 or 100 or nothing, but no, not this time. So Democrats argued that Congress should not move ahead with the legislation while Trump escalates the war on Iran. Some members of the party also objected to provisions that would deepen U.S. military and intelligence cooperation with Israel, as well as the record size of the Pentagon budget. Senate, it's funny how we have like a $1.15 trillion defense budget when nobody's attacking us. I find that to be highly curious. So Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer urged Democrats to oppose the bill, calling it a permission slip for the Trump administration to continue military operations against Iran without congressional oversight. Republicans want the Senate to take up the NDAA, and though Congress can debate the nation's central national security bill while ignoring the nation's most urgent national security crisis, Schumer mentioned before the vote, we cannot. Outside Congress, a coalition of 14 civil liberty, foreign policy, and anti-war organizations also urged lawmakers to oppose advancing the NDAA unless senators were guaranteed a vote on an amendment barring funding for what they described as Trump's unauthorized war against Iran. The coalition, which includes the American Civil Liberties Union, J Street, Code Pink, and Win Without War, argued Congress should use its constitutional power of the purse to enforce its authority over decisions about war. But the war on Iran was only one of multiple reasons the bill has run into opposition. The version before the Senate has also triggered backlash over measures that would deepen U.S. and military intelligence ties with Israel. I believe in particular there's Section 219 and others in there too. One key provision would require the Pentagon to appoint an official to coordinate between the U.S. and Israel on defense technology. That would include joint weapons research, production, and the integration of each country's technologies into each other's military systems. The provision also controversially calls for data fusion, which Human Rights Watch defined in June as combining feeds from multiple sensors and intelligence sources into a single targeting picture. The group said the arrangement could see the U.S. absorb Israeli intelligence that may have been collected through what it described as problematic mass surveillance programs, to put it lightly. A separate measure in the 2027 Intelligence Authorization Act, which is usually considered alongside the NDAA, would expand intelligence sharing with Israel. So several Democratic senators, including Chris Van Hollen, Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, Ed Markey, Jeff Merkley, and Peter Welch, urged other senators in a letter last week not to advance the NDAA before the measure could be debated. As Senate Democrats, we should not be providing votes compelling Trump to deepen the U.S. relationship with Netanyahu's extremist government, the senators wrote in a Dear Colleague letter urging colleagues to oppose advancing the bill. In a video posted on the tweeters ahead of the vote, Van Hollen argued the bill would pave the way for a bloated budget for the Pentagon and place no restraints on Trump's illegal war against Iran. He also alluded to the provisions on Israel that have gotten very little attention, that are kind of crawling through quietly Not anymore. We're calling it out. Why would the U.S. Congress order the executive branch to share more intelligence regardless of what the government of Israel is doing, he asked. Senate Democrats' efforts reflect a broader shift within the Democratic Party, where support for Israel has cratered ahead of the November midterm elections. You could probably attest that to Mamdani in New York and the lady that upset the 15-term congresswoman in Colorado, too. I can't remember her name right off the bat, but Israel's favorability rating among Democrats dropped from 59% in 2018 to 22% in May, according to a June Reuters Ipsos poll. Yes, the as more information comes out of Israel, particularly since October 7th, 2023, when you started seeing all these videos of the atrocities that were being perpetrated there, and some of the rhetoric that Israel itself was saying, because in the past, probably within the last, I would say 10 years ago, you couldn't criticize Israel about anything without being called anti-Semitic. And now it's like, oh, look at this. I got my big boy pants and I got my big girl pants on now. And we're finally criticizing some of the outrageous things that that country is doing, to say the least. And to marry it to your own military. I mean, some people are calling it treason. And I'd hate to argue. I can't argue with that.
No. And as a matter of fact, I was just talking with some of our friends the other night. It is treasonous. It is poisonous. It is one more step on the fall of the American Empire, or not even the American Empire, the United States of America. I think that sort of thing could collapse the United States of America.
It could.
And it's one of those things where people need to take to the streets.
Is it, you've heard the phrase slippery slope mentioned a whole lot in politics and whatnot. This is not a slippery slope. This is a slippery cliff.
Yeah.
And you slip off that cliff, there is no sliding down. You're falling down. And whether you like Israel or not, you should be very skeptical of what a foreign country is trying to do.
I don't want it with any country. I wouldn't want it with the United Kingdom. I'm the biggest Anglophile on the planet.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't want it with them.
Netanyahu has stated that this is what he wants, right? He's putting it in the guise of, well, we don't want aid from the United States anymore, so we're gonna take that away. But out of the frying pan into the fire, as it were. Yeah, I'm with you. I don't think any country should be married in that respect militarily, especially in this day and age where a lot of shenanigans are going on with spying and with electronic surveillance and that sort of thing. I want no part of that.
There was a time when we didn't even have our own intelligence service, and we ended up with the CIA. But we were relying on the UK government for intelligence, and the UK intelligence service called the US the putty in our hands, because they were able to manipulate the US. A lot of people don't know the whole thing with when we deposed Iran's elected leader and installed the Shah. That was at the behest of Winston Churchill. We don't need to be enmeshed with another country. Each country has its own interests.
Yes.
That's the way it is. And we can be friends, we can be allies, but we cannot be enmeshed.
It's like the Offspring said, you got to keep them separated. Great tune. You're under 18, you won't be doing any time. So the war is back on. Shocking. I know everybody's peace.
Imagine
peace,
that. Speaking of
peace,
Iran,
what is this peace word you're talking about? So U.S. reimposes blockade on Iranian ports, launches more strikes. The U.S. has renewed its blockade of Iranian ports after another day of escalating exchanges with Iran that appeared to have doomed their interim peace deal. U.S. military said its blockade of vessels transiting to and from Iranian ports and coastal areas went into effect at 2000 hours Greenwich Mean Time on Tuesday afternoon. One of them Greenwich people, they're just very important with their times, I guess. So CENTCOM also announced it had started a new wave of strikes on Iran shortly after Iranian media reports of U.S. attacks in or near the cities of Sirik and Bandar Abbas. CENTCOM said its latest attacks were aimed at degrading Iranian capabilities used to attack commercial shipping in the Strait of Hormuz. Commercial shipping that was illegally going through the Strait of Hormuz. Let's clarify that. Earlier on Tuesday, Iranian officials and state media reported U.S. strikes on the city of Abadan, which hosts the oldest oil refinery in the Middle East, the port city of Mashar, Keshem Island, and Kish Island. Ooh, Kish. Real men eat Kish. CENTCOM had launched a wave of attacks across Iran on Monday night, including strikes on Bushehr and Bandar Abbas. Iran responded by hitting 2 ships in Omani waters in the Strait of Hormuz, killing a crew member, according to the United Arab Emirates. Iran also carried out retaliatory attacks Tuesday on Kuwait, Bahrain, and Jordan. This is a low-intensity war that is becoming persistent, said Al Jazeera's Rezul Serdar, reporting from Tehran. And of course, there are concerns if things escalate further, there might be a return to a full-scale war. It's been another difficult 24 hours for countries in the Gulf and in Jordan as these Iranian attacks continue across the region. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC, acknowledged hitting 2 super tankers on Tuesday, saying they had been disabled after ignoring repeated warnings. The IRGC accused the U.S. of inciting vessels to use an illegal route and said cooperation with the aggressor enemy would only result in damage, delays in reopening the Strait of Hormuz, and a global energy crisis. Mediator Qatar condemned the attacks on tankers transiting the Strait of Hormuz, while Oman called on all parties involved to respect international law regarding navigation in the waterway. And just as a clarification, it's not an international waterway. It's controlled by both Oman and Iran. The International Maritime Agency expressed concern about the latest attacks in the strait, which it said had claimed the lives of 2 seafarers, and said the cycle of escalation must end. The IRGC also claimed an attack at U.S. military facilities in Jordan, while Bahrain, which hosts a U.S. naval base, said it had fended off an Iranian aerial attack. Later Tuesday evening, Kuwait said its armed forces were engaging with hostile aerial targets, while Bahrain's Interior Ministry also said sirens had been sounded. Amid the escalation, Trumpy said he was scrapping a planned levy on ships passing through the Strait of Hormuz, which he had announced a day earlier, replacing the fee with trade deals with Gulf allies. I have decided to replace the 20% United States reimbursement fee with trade and investment deals that the various Gulf states will be making into the United States. Trump said in a post that obviously someone else wrote because he never says anything quite that intelligent. Speaking from the White House later, Trump accused Iran of triggering the latest round of military escalation, which began on July 7th. This sounds more like him. They shot first, and that was a big mistake that they shot first because we have been knocking the hell out of them. They're very difficult people, mumbled Trump, who last week said he thought the U.S.-Iran Memorandum of Understanding signed June 17th was over, and on Friday formally notified Congress the U.S. had resumed military strikes on Iran, which have not been authorized by Congress and are illegal as hell. Alex Vatanka, senior fellow at the Middle East Institute, says Trump still appears to be banking on the Iranians seeking a return to negotiations if the U.S. creates enough pressure. But that's a gamble, he told Al Jazeera, warning this approach could lead to escalation as Iran has consistently signaled it will respond to pressure with retaliation rather than concessions, which is funny. It's because Trump's always saying Iran wants to make a deal, Iran wants to, and no, that's just him talking out of his ass. Iran's Deputy Foreign Minister Kazem Garibabadi, that's a great name, accused the U.S. of destroying the MOU and violating all its obligations under the agreement, according to comments cited by Iranian state media. He said Iran currently has no commitments under the MOU, including regarding the Strait of Hormuz, and that the U.S. is mistaken if it believes it can push Tehran back into negotiation by imposing its own blockade, because they did that before and that didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're back to this whole business. I still think it's this is just Trump manipulating this situation so he can manipulate the markets and make more money for himself, which he has been absolutely doing.
Yeah. First of all, I think being termed, being termed as a very difficult person or being a very difficult people is quite a compliment.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, I mean, I props to the Iranians.
Yeah,
you're very difficult people.
Do
you
not
should be
comply.
Proud.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, and that's the thing. They have stood up to the United States.
Yeah.
They thought killing Ali Khamenei was going to be the end of it, and then they were going to install some friendly dictator type person in there, friendly to the United States, and turns out that didn't quite happen the way they wanted it to.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me, though, it's funny. I was recently banned from my nephew's wedding because his child bride, upon meeting me, got a bad vibe off of me.
Really?
Yeah. This is I want to get a t-shirt. Bad vibes.
Yeah, you should. Maybe,
so it's being a very difficult person, giving, child brides bad vibes. There you go.
Yeah, maybe if we ever have a merch store, we could just say, bad vibes.
Auntie Laney's bad vibes. Yeah.
You got banned really for bad vibes?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, maybe it's for the best.
Anti-BV, yes.
Yeah, on TBV. There we go.
There we go.
That's all right. You go on with your bad self. You keep bringing those bad vibes. And by bad vibes, I'm pretty sure they're good vibes. So speaking of bad vibes, there's that weasel Mike Johnson house.
Oh, speaker. Lord.
This is a fun one.
Communism.
We should probably put this in clown. I almost put this in clownfish school, but I figured it involves the Pentagon. And so if you like the war in Iran, and I know you do, you'll have a war right here at home against them commies. So Mike Johnson says Pentagon needs more money for fighting communism on our own shores. Mamdani in New York has scared the crap out of these people. Because more and more people are starting, not so much communism, but socialism. Can't have that. As he pushed for Congress to approve $350 billion in new spending requested by the Pentagon, House Speaker Mike Johnson suggested Tuesday that some of the funds were needed for fighting communism on our own shores, an ominous notion in light of Trump's threats to deploy the U.S. military against his domestic enemies. In addition to the already record-breaking $1.1 trillion spending bill that was approved last month by the House Appropriations Committee, the Pentagon has requested a separate $350 billion package to be passed through a separate GOP-led spending bill known as Reconciliation 3.0, the search for Spock, which can pass without Democratic support. Johnson has faced pushback from some GOP senators, including Senators Susan Collins and the late Senator Mitch McConnell. They say hospitalized, but you and I know. As he sought additional spending during a press conference on Tuesday, Johnson made his case for Republicans to back the reconciliation proposal. The speaker argued that the package included transformational funding that will help us change the dynamic of the Department of War and make it more efficient and effective, including Trump's request to effectively double the funding for national defense. Because, we're being attacked left and right these days. Oh, wait, no, we're not. Look, we live in dangerous times, Johnson said. We're fighting communism on our own shores, and we're fighting evil terrorists and tyrants around the world. and we have to be able to protect our national security. There he is with his little haircut there. In the weeks following a series of Democratic primary victories by progressive and Democratic socialist candidates in New York, Colorado, Kentucky, Ohio, and Texas, and elsewhere, Trump and his allies in the GOP have relentlessly hammered on the idea that the nation was under siege by godless communists who want to completely destroy the traditional American way of life. And by the traditional American way of life, he means the criminal actions that the United States has been doing around the world and to their own people. Rhetoric that echoed McCarthy-era red baiting to many critics. In just 2 weeks since those primaries on June 23rd, Reuters found that Trump had invoked communism at least 81 times to demonize candidates and officials like New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani and others who have promoted policies like Medicare for all. Oh, those dirty Reds. Higher taxes on the wealthy, the expansion of public utilities, the abolition of U.S. immigration and customs enforcement. Don't get rid of ICE. How will we cool our drinks? Cutting off aid to Israel and other policies supported by large numbers of Democratic voters and most of the country, too, if you read certain polls. Trump's recent rhetoric has indicated that opposing communism goes well beyond simply voting to keep these candidates out of power. He's referred to the so-called communists as animals, as a cancer that needs to be cut out fast. He said during a July 3rd speech outside Mount Rushmore that communists cannot be loyal to America and he will send them into exile, send them quickly away. On Sunday, Trumpy reposted a video from the right-wing radio host Michael Savage with the title, Democratic Socialism Must Be Criminalized, Leaders Deported. Johnson echoed Trump's rhetoric on Tuesday, continuing to describe passing the military spending proposal as part of the existential fight against internal communist enemies. The barbarians are inside the gate, Johnson posted to social media alongside a video of himself promoting the bill. We are fighting right now in Congress over whether we're going to maintain our status as a constitutional republic or trade that in, dismantle the foundations, and go down this dark road of death to communism, he continued. That is the question. With these comments, Johnson was explicitly tying increased military funding to Trump's fight against communism, though it's unclear which aspect of the budget proposal would be directed toward those ends. Federal troops are generally barred from domestic law enforcement, though the president can deploy them in cases of domestic insurrection and violence that ordinary law enforcement cannot handle. You remember the National Guard protecting the ICE agents. Trump has deployed active duty Marines to U.S. cities like L.A. and ordered the National Guard to many others, like we said, including Portland, Memphis, and right here in Chicago for me, which courts have said violated the law. He's also suggested using armed forces to target his ideological enemies. During a speech to generals last year, he said cities should be used as training grounds for our military as they fight an enemy within, which has included immigrants, the radical left, and protest movements that have mobilized in opposition to his administration. So yeah, these guys, they scared, and it's kind of funny, actually.
Yeah, they're scared. Oh man, we don't need another Red Scare in this country. We've already got issues.
I'm not one to say that like pure communism or just pure socialism in and of itself is the answer. You're just kind of trading one thing for another. We're in 2026, and I think that a combination of economic philosophies should be enacted, and what those how they're combined and what should be combined. I think that's a discussion people in this country need to have, because pure capitalism is not doing it. We see the results of pure capitalism all around us at the grocery stores with the flock cameras and all that stuff, all the surveillance. We see what's happening with that, and we need to change that as a people. But people just stay divided because they listen to their own little bubbles. And until we get those people together, I don't know if we're going to have that change that we need, but we definitely need it.
Yeah, we do, and it is disturbing to see this rhetoric be revived. And he's not really, it's here, it's communism. We have to fight communism here. Okay, could you be specific?
No, then they have to explain how stupid their argument is. That's the thing. You keep it nice and vague, because that's what scared the old people in the past, right?
Yeah.
The commies are coming there, and then we had Red Dawn, the movie,
And then there was a remake made, but that involved North Korea. Yeah.
Because the first one said, well, why would they said China wasn't involved, but it was the Russians and the Cubans and and then the North Koreans. I'm pretty sure they'll probably remake it again, and it'll be back to China, back to Russia invading, as if they want to invade this shithole country.
Yeah.
Our waters are poisoned, our food is poisoned, our people are just like propagandized to the hilt. It's like, I always think of this analogy when it comes to the United States, right? So let's say you're a parent, right? You have a child and you try to raise this child the best way you can, but maybe you're not a good parent, right? Or maybe you are a good parent, but there's outside forces or some other influence for this child. And then this child grows up to be a serial killer, right? You may still love that child because that's your child, but you sure as hell ain't proud of the shit that they're doing, right? And that's how I feel about America. I love this country. There are good people in this country, and that's why we do this. We inform people because we want a better country, right? But we're fighting these propaganda forces and whatnot, and our country is doing some evil shit around the world, and we have to face that and acknowledge that and not bury it under the carpet.
Yeah, if you ever saw the movie Chaplin with Robert Downey Jr., that was a big theme in it, was that Chaplin actually loved America, and he thought it could be a lot more than what it was, and unfortunately it got him tossed out of the country.
Yeah, can't rock the boat, man. That's what they say. Just shut your mouth, keep your head down, and what will happen? You'll probably lose your voice and probably get neck pains for your troubles. So put on your Speedos. We're going in the press pool. If you're into
this one. Oof.
Woo. Although a pool would sound good right now. It's 89 right now here, but
only 84 here. We're having a relatively cool day here.
Yeah. Give it about another 2 hours, and once that humidity kicks in, yay! Christmas.
It's already kicked in this morning. I was running around this morning, and
thick.
And it wasn't even all that hot. It was just the humidity was giving me fits.
You feel it as soon as you hit the door. You open the door, and it's like boom, right in your face. So this is probably something that's going to start happening soon with journalism. As journalists alarmed when he's fired. But then the company keeps posting AI slop under his name. What? What the French toast? Being fired was only the first indignity that one freelancer writer had to suffer. Even though Ben Tuati was no longer working at Clickout Media, new articles continued to appear under his name. An AI, it turned out, had taken over his byline, churning out stuff that was far below the standards he held for his real work. The situation felt like a slap in the face, Tuati told Press Gazette. The articles started appearing just days after he was fired from Clickout's German operation. The 5 articles were just like lazy, obviously slop. Obviously, there's not a real person that is behind that. The Stockholm-based writer fumed. I would have added, it sure as hell wasn't me doing that, if I was that reporter. A statement from Clickout Media didn't address why it was effectively impersonating a former employee with AI. We use AI-assisted content where appropriate in tandem with human checks and edits, it said in a statement per Press Gazette. We continue to evolve our AI agents to be more accurate and improve our human editorial processes, including impersonating real human beings, apparently. Heaps of online publishers are embracing AI, often deceptively, and Clickout Media is right up there with the worst of them. Earlier this year, it became the center of controversy after an article on one of its websites, Video Gamer, turned out to be written by a bogus AI journalist. That was just the tip of the iceberg. So were plenty of other articles on its other outlets that it had gobbled up and hollowed out, with some of the fake authors even coming with AI-generated profile photos. What? Twati first began working with Clickout Media in early 2024 and was moved around between its different sites, including Techipedia, iGaming, and Esports Insider, seemingly on no more than his manager's whims. He said he had to repeatedly resist pressure to use AI to write articles. Managers would say it's almost impossible to get by without AI these days. Employees were also shown a video on how to create and humanize AI written articles. I just left the video running and didn't pay attention to it, he told Press Gazette. Good for you. Eventually, the Grim Reaper of AI came a-knocking. In early 2026, his managers told him that they'd fired multiple freelancers because there wasn't enough work. Everyone had upscaled to their productivity with AI. Then he was told he was getting let go because Esports Insider had been de-indexed by Google.
Imagine that.
Wow, shocking. Soon in late May, he found that the site was still publishing articles under his name. He was able to achieve some recourse at least. He used the European Union's General Data Protection Regulation to file a claim against Clickout for misusing his personal information, and it later removed his byline from the articles. Now they appear under a different writer's name. I believe it is Bleep Bloop is the name of the author there. That using AI for this kind of stuff. Look, if you write, let's say you're a journalist and you write an article yourself, right? You write the whole thing out. You feed it into AI to get, maybe like give you some tips on some maybe different grammatical ways of saying some. That's one thing. That's a tool. But when you're using AI to write the whole damn thing,
well, and the fact that they were publishing this under this guy's name. I mean, freelancers, okay, easy come, easy go. You might get released, but the idea that they were taking the slop, putting it under his name, that's a real problem, particularly because you as a freelancer, your credibility and your ability to write is based on what you've published. So they go in, look this guy up, and they see this flat AI slop. That could harm his ability to get a job. Now, fortunately, I think that it was in Sweden, he was able to go in under EU law and get this taken care of. But you have to wonder how many more people is this going to happen to?
Yeah. I think that's very dangerous to, especially when you're trying to provide facts and information, the basics of journalism, the who, what, where, when, and why. And you don't have a human behind that, right? No. If you're going to do that, it's just lazy journalism at best, right? And
this isn't, and these are the editors. This is the publisher. This is a publisher decision. This is bad business.
It is bad business, and it's just a cheap way of trying to get rid of people and cut corners financially.
But using their name, you can use their name and their reputation. Maybe he had people who were following him. They come back to look for his stuff, or because he's already got a following. If somebody looks him up, then they find his name, they find his stuff, and they're using his name for a reason here, and that is disturbing. Maybe they didn't feel like setting up a new account for him. I don't know. But this actually made my blood run cold.
Yeah, because nobody's going to read an article by Bleep Bloop. I'm sorry. Yeah. They're going to be like, wait, why? I don't need this robot telling me stuff.
Yeah.
So we'll keep an eye on that too.
I'm keeping an eye on it.
There's probably going to be more stories about like that in the near future as well. Lainey, are you a fan of daylight savings time? Do you like the spring?
No, I hate it, and it hits me hard. As the older I get, we're talking about being old and all that. The older I get, the harder it hits me. Twice a year.
I'm a fan of fall back because you get an extra hour of sleep. But
Messes
the spring
me up
forward, I know it's all relative, but it's like the spring forward is just like, there goes your hour of sleep, and then in the fall it's like, here it is back. You're like, oh, thanks, jerk. Well, I think they're going to make it permanent, Lainey. So the U.S. House passes a bill to make daylight savings time permanent. That's right. So the House of Representatives overwhelmingly voted yesterday, to pass a bill making daylight savings time permanent and ending the twice-yearly practice of changing clocks that has been observed across most of the U.S. since the 1960s. The 308 to 117 vote sends the bill to the Senate. If enacted, clocks would no longer return to standard time in November, though states could opt out of a year-round daylight savings time if they do not observe it currently, or voted to adopt permanent standard time before the law was changed. Supporters say changing the clocks disrupts sleep, increasing workplace injuries, and contributes to more road accidents. They also argue that keeping clocks an hour ahead year-round would provide more evening daylight and boost economic activity during the winter months. Critics say the change would mean the sun rises an hour later on winter mornings, leaving more children traveling to school, and commuters, construction workers, farmers, and others heading to work before daylight, which is kind of silly because a lot of these people are doing that already. In some places, the sun would not rise until 9 a.m. or later at the height of winter. Trumpy has repeatedly called for an end to the twice-yearly clock changes and strongly supports the measure. And the White House said Tuesday it would eliminate the time, hassle, and cost involved in changing clocks twice a year, saving Americans hundreds of millions of dollars in value annually. Although, analog clocks seem to be going by the wayside. Most people using their computer clocks, or they use their phone clocks, and those get changed automatically. But, that's just a little sidebar there. The bill still faces opposition from Senator Tom Cotton, and Arkansas Republican and others. Cotton has argued that permanent daylight savings time would result in very late winter sunrises and force children in many parts of the country to go to school in darkness. On Monday, House lawmakers rejected a request to vote on an alternative proposal that would have made standard time rather than daylight saving time permanent. Airlines for America, a group representing major U.S. air carriers, raised concern, saying the bill would have considerable implications for aviation, including passenger disruptions, crew and aircraft positioning, and domestic and international connectivity issues. Any changes would need an implementation timeline that reflects these global complications. In May, the House Energy and Commerce Committee voted 48-1 in favor of the Sunshine Protection Act. The U.S. Senate voted unanimously in March 2022 to make daylight saving time permanent, but the House never took up the measure in the face of opposition. Hawaii and Arizona do not observe daylight savings time. The U.S. used year-round daylight savings time during World War II and enacted it again in 1974 to reduce energy use, but it proved deeply unpopular and Congress repealed it later that year. Democratic Representative Frank Pallone said on Tuesday that commuting and work habits have changed and far fewer school children walk to school. It's time to finally end the process of springing forward and falling back, he said. I'm of the mind I don't really care if they do it or not. I mean, if they do, fine. If not, it's something I've lived with my whole life. Mm-hmm. But if there's people who are actually affected by this in a negative way, I could understand making changes to that. But it, like I said, it's you have your phone that automatically updates. Your computers update the time. It's just wall clocks, like I said, the analog wall clocks that you have to finagle to get them. And if you're, you got a bad back and you got to reach up on the wall to get it, and so that might affect you too. I don't know. So you are what? So let me do you? I just want to be clear. Do you want daylight savings time to spring forward, fall back, or you don't want it?
I'm not a fan. And I'm going to have to go back and look some of the science with this. I've heard that, that this can mess with people in terms of their circadian rhythms, and that is disruptive to people's health, and it could cause health problems. I don't like it. As I said, I have a harder time adjusting to it every time. I get real bad vibes. uh,
That's where you get the bad vibes.
That's why I get the bad vibes, from all this. But I can understand that having lived in the Midwest, I don't necessarily have those extremes with daylight and nighttime. If you go up to like in Denmark, way up there, they have what they call the white nights, where you might get an hour or two of darkness a day in summertime. And, so people adjust to that. And so I'm sympathetic to, okay, kids are going to school. It may be a bigger issue. I would certainly like to see the scientific community weigh in on the health impacts. I don't like it, but I'm not the only person in the world.
I think I'm with Chuck. Just eliminate time altogether. Let's just get rid of it.
Let's do the time warp.
Let's do the time warp again. Somebody asks you, hey, what time it is? It's like time for you to get a watch. I remember that when people didn't have the things. So I don't know. Maybe we'll see that happen. Maybe we'll not. I mean, the House finally said something. Now I guess it goes to the Senate, and we'll see what happens. So speaking of what's happening, I got a little thing tonight.
You do.
Extra Bull Live. It's going to be at 8 p.m. Eastern time, 5 p.m. Pacific. And our buddy, Arturo Medina, Arturo Funky Cold Medina, will be with us tonight. He's going to be talking about the movie that he did back in, I think it's 2022 or 23. If he's filmmaker, animator, good guy too. He's a 69 baby too, by the way. He's in the club. And we'll be talking about how Hollywood has changed and what AI is doing to it now and that sort of thing. So join us tonight. It's on YouTube, Rumble, and Facebook, and possibly Substack if it actually works. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't, but I'm looking forward to it. I love talking about movies and that sort of thing, and I'm really ready to pick his brain and what he has to say about that too. So,
and if you subscribe to our Substack, there's a link to the show tonight in there.
Yeah, so and please
another reason to subscribe to the Substack.
Exactly, subscribe to the Substack if you you want to. That's why we have it. We have the articles in there that we use on the show, so you can read it for yourself, so you don't think we're full of shit. I think that's my motivation for having it. It's like, we didn't say this, that's what they said. So check that out. I'll be back again after that. I'll be back again Friday morning for morning extra secret show Saturday night, and then this show, of course, back again next Wednesday at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific time. YouTube, Rumble, Facebook. It's good times. We always have fun. We have good guests on here too. Looking forward to more of those. Yep. And like we said at the top, we're at 101 subscribers to our YouTube channel. Let's keep that momentum going. That means we're getting the message out to more people and the information, and that's what we're all about.
Absolutely. And again, thank you everybody for getting us to this point, for subscribing, for sharing. We really do appreciate it.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Without your support, we'd just be talking into the ether, and just like old folks tend to do sometimes, I'm just going to do that anyway for other things. Yeah. So
I'm going to do that too.
Yeah. Old man yells at cloud, that kind of thing. Any final words before we get out of here, Lainey?
Looking forward to the show tonight, Uncle Warren. Also, Morning Extra, best morning show in town. And when we do the Secret Show, that's just so much fun. That's a good community of folks there. It's a time to just start laughing and all that. Chuck, no, we don't have a Patreon yet. We're waiting on that until we get some more folks. But we do appreciate everybody being here. And if you can help us with that YouTube channel number, That's kind of critical right now because we want to monetize that channel. But we don't have a Patreon right now. Hoping to get one eventually, but again, we want to grow this a little bit more before we do that.
Yeah, and the Secret Show is just basically a hangout.
It's fun. It's just fun.
We got sillies, science, and people comment all the time, and it's just a good little community thing. Kind of take a break from the world for maybe an hour and a half or 2 hours, depending. Yeah. And that's why I do it. I like hanging out with people. I like I like that community. It's very it's good
vibes. See, I'm all bad. Vibes. That's why I'm not on the show, because it's all good vibes. And Uncle Warren's all good vibes. I'm anti-BV.
Nobody wants to be on that show because they're afraid of the taint. There's lots of taint, and we get a little potty mouth on there too. So
a little bit.
I kind of like to keep that to myself.
Got to watch that though. It can lead to explosive diarrhea.
I know, right? Well, diarrhea of the mouth. Anyway, I've used to hear that. You got diarrhea of the mouth. You shut up. Well, other than that, we appreciate everybody. Thanks again. We will see you again next week for the Undercurrent. Take care of yourselves and stay cool, stay hydrated. And as Mom used to say, watch out for the nuts.
Weird nuts.
And not those weird nuts, the really weird nuts. And you know what I'm talking about. Take care, everybody. Have a good one.
Peace out.